We are back now on the Chip Shot Football Podcast, here to talk some more about what we saw in Week 11 around the NFL in a lot of interesting matchups. And this one maybe didn't have the high stakes that some of the other games had, but this was a storied rivalry, pretty one-sided in recent history, but still two of the most historic franchises going head-to-head once again in the NFC North. And ultimately, in this game, we saw Chicago play their first game without their former offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. They fired him last week, and now it was Thomas Brown stepping in as the interim play caller for the Chicago Bears. And the short-term goal, the overall goal, I think that we wanted to see was Caleb Williams play better. And I think we saw that despite them losing the game. The biggest thing for me was seeing Caleb Williams play better and see that offense play better overall. So we did see that, but considering how close the game was, it definitely makes the loss hurt a little bit more. And we're going to get into all of that just as we move along. But, Chicago, with the loss in Sunday's game, they lose their fourth consecutive game after their bye week. They now go to 4-6. But, the good news was they finally scored a touchdown after going 23 straight drives without scoring a touchdown. So that just adds to the idea that they at least played better in that regard. So it wasn't just scoring a touchdown, but they were truly competing with the Packers. And I'm not quite sure if it says more about the Bears or if it says more about the Packers overall. But, we'll get to those points later on. But Green Bay, on the other hand, like I just brought up, they came off of their bye week this past week to get a win and push them to 7-3, keeping pace with some of the better teams in the NFC. They're still in a wild card spot considering that they're in the division with the Detroit Lions. So the highest they can get is number 5. So we'll see if they, kind of leapfrog the Minnesota Vikings, another team in their division, to get a higher seed and play probably the Cardinals if they do achieve that, but that's still a long ways away. But in this game, it took a lot of big plays by Green Bay, and at the end, a blocked field goal after a questionable decision by Matt Eberflus, and for Chicago to not run another play and just be content with a 46-yard field goal, which isn't easy, obviously, but it's also not, like a 59-yarder, obviously, right? But still, it makes, a lot of people freaked out about it, and I see both sides, and I guess, like a 46-yarder for a good kicker, like, I'm forgetting his name now, Cairo Santos, he's a reliable kicker, but, again, a lot of people would say that it's not guaranteed, and I would agree, but, like a 46-yarder, what are the chances that they actually block it? So, I am, overextending on the kind of heat that I'm taking off of Matt Eberflus, but still, for them to just not run another play, I think that was a little bit ridiculous. Not the fact that it was like, oh my God, like they're kicking a 46-yarder. It's more so the fact that there's 30 seconds left, and the alternative to not running another play is just kicking the 46-yarder, obviously, which, again, isn't the hardest thing in the world. But if it's not the hardest thing in the world, why not just run another play and make it even easier? Even if you do go back like 5 yards, yeah, it's a 50-yarder, but, that's also, by this logic, not the hardest thing either to do. I'm guessing by the way Matt Eberflus kind of explained it afterwards. So, it obviously looks a lot worse now, and we're going to explain a little bit more on it just towards the end of this segment, but that's really the overall census about that entire decision. And, Green Bay now defeats Chicago for an 11th straight time, the longest winning streak by either team in this rivalry. And, it was a better performance offensively by Thomas Brown, who stepped in his first game as the play caller. I think Caleb overall was a lot more decisive. He wasn't holding on to the ball too long, still thinking about what he wanted to do. There was moments where, again, nobody was really open, you could say, but he wasn't just dancing around back there trying to wait for someone to get open. If nobody was open, he just tucked it and ran and got a lot of first downs that way. So that is something he's able to do. So why not use it, obviously? But also, one of the first plays, early on in this game was a screen pass to DJ Moore that got them a first down. Those sort of plays I've been waiting to see a bit more, and Thomas Brown incorporated it into their offense. They targeted Cole Kmet a lot more in this game. Another piece that could be sort of a security blanket for Caleb Williams if he's able to use him a lot more. They haven't really been using him too much, so that was good to see. But Rome Odunze also as well. He got a lot of reception in this game. 6 receptions for 65 yards. DJ Moore had 7 for 62. Keenan Allen had a couple crucial conversions as well. So I liked what I saw just on the eye test from Caleb and how decisive he was. He threw for over 231 yards in this game. He had not reached close to that number since the Cardinals game, but that game wasn't very pretty either way. So, I mean, that was on the Chicago Bears side of things. The Packers, Jordan Love threw for 261 yards, a touchdown, an interception, and Josh Jacobs, had a solid game, 76 yards and a touchdown, and Christian Watson had his career high in yards with 150, but the only receiving touchdown went to Jaden Reed in this game as well. But the way the game sort of played itself out, it was a tightly contested game, obviously, but the game was 7-3 with Green Bay leading for mostly all of the first quarter before Jordan Love threw another interception in the second quarter and prevented them from, tacking on another touchdown potentially over the Chicago Bears. And the Bears, got a break there and they took advantage of it and scored a touchdown and led at halftime now 7-10 over the Packers. And after halftime, to start the second half, it was 2 great drives by Chicago to start that second half. And now, in those 2 drives, they had a 10-play drive and then another 11-play drive that added another 10 points to the scoreboard. But Green Bay also scored a touchdown in between those drives as well. So now the game is 14-19, still with the Bears leading in this game. And from that point on, it was 14-19 for most of the third quarter before Green Bay then took the lead 20-19 with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. There was a lot of punts. There wasn't a lot of, frantic or chaotic play in the second half. It was all pretty straightforward. But, the Packers left 3 minutes on the board for Chicago, and they used it all up in their last drive, which was a great drive, a lot of great throws by Rome Odunze. Caleb Williams to Rome Odunze. It was a crucial third down. It was third and like 18 or something like that, and Caleb threw a dart to Rome Odunze, making the fourth down conversion a bit more manageable. Then another great back shoulder throw to Rome Odunze down the right sideline, which was awesome. He got Tom Brady all excited as well. That was great to see. Then another big conversion to Keenan Allen on the left side on a nice little out route there. That was great to see as well. Caleb, putting together this great drive there at the end. It got everybody excited in Chicago, and they chewed down the clock to the final second. And then we got the field goal, obviously, which was blocked, and it sucked all the air out of that stadium. For them to lose a game like that, it is crushing. It just adds more misery to this organization, which this season I think they've been building themselves up just for something to kind of bring them back down to a very harsh reality, if I'm being honest. But really here for Green Bay and my takeaways from this game, they got the win, but Jordan Love threw his 11th interception of this season, which leads the NFL now, and we're not freaking out on the Packers, but it's almost like Kansas City, where people talk about them being in so many close games up until this point. Green Bay is in a lot of these close games as well because of the turnovers that we see in some crucial moments, or just questionable decisions that we see with some of these throws. It's, again, we're not hitting the red panic button or anything like that, but at some point, if you're just nonchalant, kind of just shaking off these turnovers like it's nothing, it's going to come back and bite you if you don't try and address it, going into next week. So I would like to see Jordan Love protect the ball a lot more, but, they got the win, so they're going to be happy about that. But back on the Chicago Bears and this decision to, you know, to not only, take the field goal and obviously get blocked, but what we saw, I think, is a little microcosm of what the issue truly is with the Chicago Bears, because they addressed one of the issues, which was Shane Waldron. They got rid of him. They elevated Thomas Brown, but it won't look completely better until we get Matt Eberflus, out of the way, and they bring in another head coach, in my opinion, because I think we saw that kind of rear its ugly head again here in this game, where there was a question about whether Caleb just wasn't that good or was it the coaching. I think now for sure it guarantees that it's the coaching, and by that I mean it's too conservative at times with Matt Eberflus, and just his end of game management, his situational football decisions, I think are costing this team more so than they're benefiting from it, because Chicago is 5-17 in one-score games under Matt Eberflus since 2022, and to me that just shows one or two games it's just unlucky. You're going to get a couple of those when you're in so many one-score games, but to be 5 of 17, you have to be doing something wrong as a head coach in managing those critical moments, the time management, the big decisions. If it was like 5-6 or like 5-7 or something like that, I could give them the benefit of the doubt, but 5-17 is ridiculous in one-score games. To not even be close to like breaking even for per se is again something that I don't really like about Matt Eberflus. And like I said, it's too conservative to have a 46-yard field goal attempt is doable, but it's worrying about what could go wrong. Constantly thinking about, oh, my team is going to false start, or my team could fumble, or they're just going to screw it up somehow. Let me just take the safe route and kick this field goal. And that sort of lack of belief, or the just worrying too much, or again just being too conservative, I think is the problem. The lack of trust in his players to run another play, not even like get a first down, just simply line up in like whatever formation, I formation, just call it on the first like hike or the first hut, and just run straight or just run left or right and get whatever amount of yards you can get. If you get nothing, then it's fine. For them to, or for Matt Eberflus to think that and use it as an excuse, like, oh, we could line up off sides, we could fumble, so many things could go wrong on a simple just running play. Again, not doing anything crazy, just a simple running play is not the attitude that I would want for a head coach. We talk a lot about the fourth down conversions and my thoughts on them, whether I agree or not agree. The thing that I do like is for all these coaches that do go for it, even if I don't agree with it in the context of the game, is the fact that they believe in their team, right? They believe that they can go out and do it, and I'm never going to argue that. Depending on the context of the game, that's what I'll argue, but actually having that belief in your players to not screw it up or to blow up the play themselves is what you want in a head coach. So for Matt Eberflus to show that lack of trust in his players is not something that, again, I would want in a head coach. And it was similar earlier in this game where they were facing a 4th and 2, and I heard it on the broadcast how Kevin Burkhardt mentioned how they converted the 4th and 2, and he brought up the saying where he said that Caleb, converting the 4th and 2 and having to fight Matt Eberflus to go out there and even try that conversion, which if your rookie quarterback is fighting you to go out and convert a 4th down when already your season's not going great, so for you to still be conservative is worrying again. And yes, it was the excuse also to not look for an out or blame it just on the penalty as something that is valid. I do agree that the long snapper got destroyed on that play, but if they make the kick, no one's going to say anything about it. They're not going to cry and whine about it to New York about how that was a potential penalty, like how dare they not call it. If they make the kick, no offense to the long snapper, they don't care if he got run over if they make that kick. So it's the fact that, again, you're kind of deflecting the blame and not admitting, like, you know what, maybe we should have ran another play. That was my bad. For you to deflect it and be like, oh, that was a penalty, they should have never blocked it, that's why we lost this game. That's not, again, the mentality you want to have for a young quarterback, for an organization that's trying to get over the hump. So I was pretty disappointed with Matt Eberflus. Again, I was going into this game thinking that hopefully they just play better, and they did. But the way that it all turned out with the decision, the deflecting of the blame, not accepting responsibility is I don't think it's doing Matt Eberflus any favors. So I would like to see them, get a more mentally strong, optimistic coach, in my opinion, in Chicago. And I think that would really help Caleb Williams a lot because they have a lot of the pieces. They just, I think, need more direction for that organization. But, the Packers won that game, and that's that. But now we have one more game to get to before we finish it off with one last segment. We're going to react to the Colts and Jets game. Another young quarterback, another team that is still trying to figure things out, but they were more successful against the New York Jets. So we're going to talk about that when we return on the Chip Shot Football Podcast.